Now, we have been joined in the studio by Mr. Sajjad Ahmed Chima, Executive Director, Society for the Protection of the Rights of the Child. Now, sir, first of all, welcome to PTV World.
Thank you.
Now, sir, it's the International Human Rights Day. We know how the human rights are usurped all over the world, but specifically talking about Pakistan. Now, first of all, what do you say about the condition of the human rights in Pakistan?
Thank you. Basically, we used to observe International Human Rights Day because in 1948, on 10 December, the UN General Assembly adopted the UDHR, Universal Declaration on Human Rights. And all the, members of the UN are, under an obligation to implement the rights defined in the declaration. There are 30 articles, there are 30 rights over there. But if you come to Pakistan, you can see that the situation of the implementation is not very good, and especially if you talk about the vulnerable groups of the society like children and women, and they are suffering a lot. Because Pakistan have ratified many other conventions as well, like CEDA, like CAT, and like UNCRC, and they are also talking about certain rights of children, women, and other rights provided to the people. But basic reason is that the next step was the state was required to adopt legislation according to the conventions. If there is no law, and it means that human rights are not recognized in Pakistan, like fundamental rights, like education is fundamental right over here in Pakistan. But as you know that around 23 million children are out of school over here in Pakistan, and that is equal to the total population of Australia. And it means that a huge number of children is not able to access their right. Similarly, children are working in labor. Many people are not, able to get the means of life, like they are living below the line of poverty, and there are a lot of issues to be covered yet. I think the most important thing is that the state is required to invest more. More resources are required to make change over here. Like if we want that all the people should be accessing their rights, first of all, we have to adopt legislation. Then for the implementation of the laws, we have to invest more. I think this is a day to recall about the rights available for the human, and including the Pakistani citizens. And this is very important that if we people will be accessing our rights, and children will be provided with their rights, and they will be able to contribute for the country. And if you are looking for a bright future of Pakistan, I think we need to consider rights. If we will be providing education, proper education, quality education, we will be providing rights regarding survival and development. In Pakistan, right to food is not a fundamental right in Pakistan. And if we want to reduce hunger, and we are also working on the Millennium Development Goal and Sustainable Development Goals, and Goal 2 is talking about hunger, and we are not able to still add in our constitution. Yes, our constitution is providing a lot of rights, but
Mr. Chima, like you said, of course, people do not know, they don't have the recognition about the rights. So, how do you suppose the awareness can be created? Because many people here in our society, they don't know what their rights are, especially. Even adults don't know, let alone children. So how do you think we can create this awareness, since you're sitting here at the forum of PTV World? What would you say about this?
This is very important, that if people do not know that what are the rights, and they will never be able to raise voice for that. And I think whenever Pakistan, the state of Pakistan is reviewed under different processes, like recently Pakistan was reviewed under Universal Periodic Review. And after the review, there was a document that is called recommendations. And there are many recommendations regarding the improvement of situation of human rights in Pakistan. Similarly, Pakistan was reviewed under UNCRC, that is the Convention on the Rights of Child. And after that review, a document was issued that is concluding observations and recommendations. And one of the most important recommendation was that the state should print those recommendations and disseminate among the general people, like also to the elected representatives and academia. The purpose is that people should know that what are the issues and what are the recommendations to address the issues, and what is the obligation of the state, what is the direction, that how we can achieve the goals. And I think the awareness is a very much important thing.
Sir, we see that child abuse nowadays is so much common, and so much human trafficking is happening these days. So what does the Pakistani law says about it, and how can we improve the situation?
Uh, there are laws, and recently, but not very recently, in 2016 there was an amendment called Second Amendment in criminal laws, and laws are improved as well. But similarly, people are not well aware about the changes in law, and the most important thing is that even police is not aware that what are the recent changes in the law. I think there is a need of awareness and implementation. In recently a judicial officer was convicted under a case, and that was about the child cruelty. And we are observing child abuse and things like that since long. But this is the very first example that a person and who was a judicial officer, he is convicted, and that is made only possible through legislative development, because in 2016 there was an amendment and a section regarding the cruelty to child was added. And this is very important, that that judicial officer was not convicted under any law of labor, because that child was working in his home as a child domestic labor, but he is convicted under cruelty to child. And it means that if there are laws, then there is a possibility to handle the child abuse and things like that.
Right, and also, sir, since you're the executive director for in the Society for Child Protection, so what is the society doing in order to create awareness, and also in order to make people more aware about what their rights are, especially children?
First of all, we are providing awareness. We are working with different government departments to sensitize on the child rights and the available convention to deliver the rights. Secondly, we are providing little bit services, like we are providing free legal assistance. We are working with street children. We have drop-in centers in different cities, and we used to provide basic services like education and a little bit food and things like that. And we are working with the government schools, public schools, and we are connecting the children with the government schools. After a short period, we provide them a little bit education and things like that. Then we got them admitted in the government schools. And there are certain services, but the most important thing is that we are generating demand. We are involving children as well. We have established child rights clubs, and we used to engage children to empower them to speak for themselves. And we want the children to contribute, because according to the UNCRC, the child participation is one of the major pillar of UNCRC, and children have their civil and political rights. And we are engaging children to raise demand for the delivery of their rights, and also working with the community to aware them regarding the available rights. And we are also holding the state accountable to implement the UDHR, UNCRC, and other conventions the state has ratified.
So now talking about street children, as you said, we see that begging culture is becoming so common every day, day by day. So what are the steps being taken to reduce this, the chaos that's been created in the begging culture, especially the children who are involved in this?
Basically, after the 18th Amendment, child rights were devolved to provinces, and provinces have adopted few laws. Like in Sindh, there is the Sindh Child Protection Authority Act, and in Punjab, there is Destitute and Neglected Children Act. And similarly in KP there is a Child Welfare Act, but in Islamabad recently a law is adopted that is ICT Child Protection Act, that is adopted in I think May 2018, and I think it will take a few time to establish the infrastructure. And under that law the government will be providing services to the street children. And one thing is very important, and that was recommended by the UN committee as well, that the state should have an independent body to monitor the child rights, and that body will be responsible to report to the UN and regarding the legislative development and everything. And in Pakistan a law was passed that was about the National Commission on the Rights of Child, and the law was passed that, but we are waiting for the establishment of the commission yet. The commission is not established. Once commission is established, I think the issue of corporal punishment, issues of child labor, issues of child marriages, and all the issues like child, you were talking about the street children, I think the commission will be working on them, and it will be very easy to deal with the issues, because there will be sort of one window, an umbrella, and under that umbrella all the departments will be working, and the department will be responsible to the commission.
Now, Mr. Chima, also, like you said, you are working with the Society for Child Protection. Now, is the society also in liaison with the private sector and the NGOs which work for human rights?
Yes, we are working with different segments. Different organizations are working on different issues like human rights issues, but Sparc, Society for the Protection of the Rights of Child, is working exclusively for the child rights, and because child rights are also human rights, and we are doing our efforts, and other organizations are also, and we are collaborating with the government departments as well, and we all are looking for a bright future of the country, and we want our children to access our rights, their rights, and we are working together, and we are very hopeful.
Great, thank you very much, Mr. Sajjad Ahmed Chima, Executive Director, Society for Child Protection, who was in the studios with us, giving his insight as far as the child protection is concerned, as far as human rights is concerned, and as far as what the society he works for, what that is doing as far as creating awareness is concerned, and also the implementation of the laws that the Pakistani Constitution has for the protection of children and for the human rights.